Well, hello everyone. I'm super excited today to talk to you all about some Google tools today. So today we're going to be talking about Google Workspace for education, apps and tools, things that you might want to know. So let me know who's tuning in here live in the chat. Drop where you're tuning in from. Oh, wow. Tuning in from Croatia. You win right there for the distance. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. So again, let me know if you have questions in the chat, drop them in there. #ask lets me know that you are tuning in. And please add comments as we're going through. So I'm doing a new studio setup here, and so hopefully audio is all good. So let me know in the chat, give me a thumbs up or yes if all is good and you can hear and see all the good things that I'm about to share. Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're one of those folks that is tuning in from the future, appreciate you as well. All right. So today's session, what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about Google Workspace for education. That's the new name. It's been Google, then it was G Suite, and now it's Google Workspace, and then it's for education is the education arm. And so today we're going to be talking about tips for using Workspace EDU apps. We're going to learn about some sites and tools to use with those apps, and explore some Chrome extensions and app smashing, things you might want to do, and then gain ideas for using Workspace EDU apps to engage your learners. So super excited to share these ideas. So for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, and this is the first time we've connected, my name is Jennifer Hall, and I'm an educational technology specialist here in Atlanta. And so this is a summer PD series I kicked off last year and had a blast doing it. And so I did it again based on topics that the teachers that I work with requested. And then since I'm streaming to my YouTube channel and also Facebook, it benefits folks outside of the district. So just let me know who's tuning in and where you're tuning in from. So there are a ton of apps that are part of Workspace for education, and I'm going to focus on a handful of them, not all of them, but the bulk of those that you use in your classroom. So first I want to talk about Google Drive, and I'll give you a couple of tips for Google Drive. Right now, since we're wrapping up the school year, we've already finished the school year. Now we're in summer school here in Atlanta. Thank you so much. Good to see you. What's up, Fonz? Thanks so much for tuning in. So a lot of people are like, okay, I got to clean up and organize Google Drive, and this is a great opportunity to do that now that it's summertime and kind of get fresh and get ready for next year. Want to thank you so much for tuning in. So I'm a big proponent of trying to keep things as organized as possible. Something to know is that with the new rollout of thank you so much, Colleen, tuning in from Wyoming. Thank you so much. Happy to share. I appreciate you being here. So there are some changes to the way Google Workspace is going to work for education in terms of there's different tiers and how much space you have available. So I'm advising teachers that they want to go ahead and clean out all those duplicate documents that they don't need, because you don't want to have a problem where you've run out of space. I see here we have a problem with admins who don't allow us to use photos and websites on GSpace. So some people don't want to use the Google Photos because I think that might be a security thing, just because it does the AI face recognition, and then sites just because of maybe the way they want you to set it up and have things either private or not accessible outside of your district. Sorry to hear that. That's kind of a bummer. But each school district has its own rules, expectations, and guidelines. So a couple of things I want to point out about Google Drive, again, is cleaning out those different, you might have multiple copies of the same document and you don't need all of them. And I have a lot of teachers that say, well, I just can't even find things in my Drive. And so there's two different ways you can find things inside of your Google Drive, and you might be a list view person or a grid view. Let me know in the comments. Are you list view or grid view, or is it based on your needs? I mean, that's really a kind of a touchy subject for some Google folks that they really are very particular about. This is list view, and you can go up here and you can toggle the difference to grid view, and this is where you can see all of the information, who's your owner, last modified. So you're going to get a lot more details under list view, and some people really like to have that But if you're trying to find different things, sometimes you might want to see this. Let's see here. My friend across the pond is Team List View. I knew that, Avid. I knew that. Grid view. See, it's a touchy subject. Grid view. Okay. Colleen is grid view. Grid is winning right now. Look at that. Thanks for sharing, everyone. But it just kind of for me, it depends on what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for photos, I might go into grid view. But if I really need to drill down, I will go list view. I keep it in list view, but switch to grid view sometimes, Avid. So it lives in list view. All right. So moving on here, you can click up here and you can switch back and forth. Again, that's just kind of a good thing to know. But this is probably one of maybe the most underutilized. See, Olivia feels me. She understands. She's list view, or grid view, but list view if I'm looking for older files, because then you can sort by when it was used. All right, gotcha. I hear you. So this is probably an underutilized space that you might not have realized is in this is in education only accounts. This is not in your personal Gmail account, but that is the ability to create workspaces so that you can have your ready to use documents that you need to available right there. So let me know who's using their workspace. I like this because I can set up, so during distance learning, I set up a workspace to find the things I needed to get to easily, which was like my support documents, my spreadsheet where I was tracking which teachers I was working with, and then also just a quick slide deck that I wanted to have access to all the time. Then I have another workspace, which is all my Glide app links so that I can find all the sheets that I use for my different apps that I've created with Glide apps. So it's really a great resource to use, and a lot of people don't turn it on or they don't create those workspaces, and they're really good when you have a project that you're working on and you're like, okay, I just need to have these ready, available right here, and they're going to live there in your drive under those workspaces. So a couple of tips that I share with my teachers, and I think that these are, Wanda says, love my workspaces, especially for ongoing classes or PLTs. Exactly. It's where you need to get to those quick projects and have it right there, several files together. I think you can put up to 7 files in there. It doesn't let you grab folders, files only, but you can go in and you can link to those files that you need, and then when you don't need them anymore, you can remove them from that workspace. So a couple of my other favorite tips is that I would point out that, color code your folders. If you didn't know you could do that, you can right click on any folder and add a color to it. So I have multiple schools. I have 6 schools that I support directly here in Atlanta. And so my expectation is that, one of my goals is to tag each one with a color so that I know, okay, this is, one of my schools is blue, another is yellow, another is gray, and it works for me. Also, if you're trying to find things very easily, if you are a list view person, and this also works under grid view, if you want to have a folder that lives up at the top, or a file that lives up at the top, put that asterisk in front of it, and then it's going to automatically let it live at the top. You can get to it a lot quicker. You can also add emojis. I'm a big fan of emojis, and it's just a great way to do it. Keep in mind though, if you do use an emoji, it is going to alphabetize by that title. So like if you put in the clapper emoji, it thinks it's a C because that's the title of the emoji, so it's going to file it like a C. So if you really still need to have it live at the top, put that asterisk and the emoji. You can also use that start option by right clicking on any folder. You can actually star it, and then it's going to live there, and you can, on the left hand side in your drive, you can search by starred. Again, creating that quality workspace. Look at this, Croatia for the win. We got another friend from Croatia tuning in. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Sandra says you use Glide apps. I love Glide apps. I've made my Tech Tips 411 Glide app and my Lights Camera Action using Glide apps. It's a super cool tool. So those are some of my favorite tips and tricks to know about Google Drive as you're getting organized for next year. Again, being able to add those star asterisks, color coding, as you can see, adding in those emojis, just kind of makes it visually a little easier to find things in your drive. So next up, I want to talk about one of my absolute favorite tools, which is Google Keep. How many of you are Google Keep fans? I love Keep because it keeps me organized. I was one of those teachers that would write umpteen million sticky notes and stick them on my computer, and then throw my computer in my bag and carry it home, and then all of a sudden I've got sticky notes everywhere, and I was like, what was that note for, and why was it there? So now you've got I love it. My friend Sandra says you advertise it a bit there. Thank you so much. Sharing is caring. I love it. So with Google Keep, it's a digital sticky note and it has so many powerful features. So I use Keep daily, pretty much. And I actually love the fact that you can use multiple accounts. So if I've got my work account here where I've got notes in it. I've also got my Tech Tips 411 account, Google account. I've got my personal one, my photography business. So I have multiple Google Keeps that I keep notes in there for each of them. What's great is you can also share your notes with people, not just in your domain. So with work, it's great, but also you can share it for family purposes as well. But that's a great question. Do you keep your Keep in grid or list view? Fonz, you're hilarious. I keep it very color coordinated, and I'm very, very, in the app, I'm very much grid, and I have a lot of pens, for sure. I'm a visual person, and so you'll see a screenshot of mine here in a second. So Google Keep features that are pretty awesome is the fact that you can set reminders, you can share your notes, which is great. So if you're using it for work here, you can obviously share it out with your teammates. So if you're doing a plan, a lesson plan, or you're planning an activity for school, you can share it with your teammates. You can even share notes with your students. It's a great way to create a checklist for students that you're trying to provide that extra support, because they have check boxes, and you can actually restart that checklist at the end of the week if need be. Great to share with your administrators and even parents, so that you can do some behavior tracking with your parents. And because it has a mobile app and is web-based, it means you can access it anywhere. And I love that I can pull out my phone and I can add in notes very easily. You can change the note colors, so you can have a color-coded system. I have a particular school that they actually have color-coded classes. So they have a red class, a blue class, a yellow class, and a green class. You can actually color-code them as well. You can add in pictures. So I'm a big fan of adding in pictures or Jamboard stickers, so that we can, as little visual reminders of what we're using it for. I love that you can add in drawings on the mobile app. You can actually draw, and that's a great option. I can add in labels, so I can filter for things in particular. Oh, look at this. All right, we got a new friend here, Anne from Croatia as well. This is amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. Google Keep is new for you. Awesome. Well, in the link on my channel, I've got a how-to that walks you through how to use Google Keep from start to finish, and how to use the mobile app as well. So if Keep is new to you, you definitely need to check it out. I love that you can start a note and then copy it into Google Docs. It's really cool. Great for lesson plan ideas. I keep it for my weekly tech tips. For those of you that subscribe, if you wonder how in the world do I keep track of, like, what am I going to share for my weekly tech tips, I have a Google Keep note that is, I'll be reading an article, I'll be like, let me save it so I can go back and look at it and see if it's one that I want to share it with my teachers. Now, benefits of the mobile app include the fact that it has a voice note option, which you can do a voice note from the desktop, but the voice note is going to transcribe it, so you can take voice notes. It's great for your students, and it's also going to grab that text there, which is really, really, really cool. In addition to that, I really like the fact that you can do the annotation, so because it's touch, so it's great for drawing for students. And the magical thing is you can actually take a picture of an image, so I can snap a picture of an image and then go in and say, grab all that image text out. So it's a great opportunity for note-taking for those students that might need a little extra support. And got another friend popping in from Croatia. This is amazing. Thank you all so much for joining. So again, Google Keep is so powerful because you can organize and do so many different things. My personal favorite here is that you can pin those notes so that they live at the top. You find them very easily. So that's why I was laughing when Fawn said, hey, how do you organize them? I like to use those pins so that my most important notes live at the top, and then unpin them when I don't need them. And you can even archive notes so that they don't live on your main dashboard, but they don't get deleted. So you can kind of have ones that you need for certain times. So here is what it looks like on the desktop app. And what's pretty cool here is I can add in all these images, lots of emojis, images. I actually use Google Keep to keep track of my favorite Bitmojis. And the reason I did that is for the fact that I want to be able to keep them. Sometimes the Bitmojis are limited edition, like today is the start of Pride Month, and so they released a Bitmoji that it might go away, so I always save them in my Google Keep, and then I can drop them in any document I want. Sandra, I see you save links in Wakelet. Yes, Wakelet is a great way to capture links. Now, if I'm saving it to share out, that's one thing, but I use it to save my links for me to check off those boxes that I've used them in my Tech Tips 411. So that's for me, it's easy to copy and paste it in there, and it's more of a note-taking piece for me, not necessarily links to share out with folks that are grabbing my Wakelet collections. But yeah, Wakelet is awesome, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about Wakelet in the session at 3 today. So for my friend here who said that Keep is new to you, and guess what? I've got this tutorial here all about Google Keep that will walk you through step by step how to use it if you're interested. So I'm going to make sure that link is in the video description, but you can also just search Tech Tips 411, Google Keep, and you'll find my tutorial. So next up, I want to talk about Google Slides. So I absolutely love Google Slides, and it's, to me, the Swiss Army knife of Google tools, because you can use it for just about anything that you can imagine. And I think that, I don't know about you, I want to have a tool that students can get really comfortable with, and that they know all of the features, and they keep rolling out some cool updates, including the fact that they've added what they're calling, they've gotten rid of the master slide. It's going to be now called the theme, and you can go in and change a lot of the elements that lock them down so students don't mess it up. But one idea you might want to use for Google Slides going into the new school year is using it as a back channel. So linking a slide deck that lives at the top of your Google Classroom with questions and comment sections where students can go in and add to it. So there's great features in Google Classroom that allow you to ask questions real time during your lesson. Then you got to go back to each one of those individually. And if you want to just have a way to capture things, I think that a back channel and using Google Slides, which allows students to not only add comments, but they can add in stickers, they can add in GIFs, they can add in images, tables, anything they need to add those questions and comments into this Google slide deck. And you could run it for the year, because you could keep adding more slides. You could also have it be based on a topic or based on a unit, but having it live at the top of your Google Classroom as the back channel, and it's a safe space. The other benefit of doing that is what you've got this archive of everything that students are adding to it, but also you can use the power of Google Slides version history to see if there's any shenanigans. So if any kids, maybe perchance you have a student that wants to delete things or put things that they shouldn't put there, you can use the power of version history to check that out and see if there are any shenanigans that have taken place. So try using Google Slides as a back channel for your students in the upcoming school year. What do you think? Anyone using Google Slides that way, or hadn't heard of that and thought, that's a pretty cool idea, I think I'm going to give that a try? Let me know in the chat if you think using Google Slides and creating a back channel is something that your students would find beneficial. So another great way to use Google Slides is to actually create a fill-in-the-blank activity. So during our time that we were working remote, and my teachers did make it back into the building, but we were still hybrid. We had students that were working from home, students that were in school. I see here, Sandra says, I have all the school days and all the links on one. So you use it kind of as like a catch place, everything is all there. Okay, cool. So using it like a hyperdoc. I was thinking more, which hyperdocs is a great option as well. I was thinking more of just, this is where that question and comment feature is during, so that it's almost kind of the parking lot, so to speak, but a digital version. Thanks, Wanda. I'm glad you like that idea. So the fill in the blank, so I had teachers that during the distance learning were like, I have all these handouts that normally I would hand out, kids would fill them out. I need to be able to do that digitally. How do I do that? And so we talked about how you could use Google Slides to do that. So one of the things you can do is you can actually take a PDF and convert it to an image and then upload it to the background in Google Slides. So that way students are not able to delete it, move it, or anything. It lives as the background in that slide. And then you can add in boxes like this. So I actually did these with red boxes so they stand out a little bit more, but this is a Shakespeare activity, which has got a word bank down here, but I've already added in the text boxes for students to be able to fill out the vocabulary activity here. So Slides is a great opportunity to do that, because technically if you were still in a hybrid situation, you could print this out for your students, and then you could also then let students complete it online. So using Google Slides for fill-in-the-blank activities is a great way to engage your students. And again, Google Slides is that Swiss Army knife kind of tool. There we go. Oh, look at this. Another friend from across the pond, Julia. Hey, Julia, how are you doing? Do you change the size of the slide? Yes. So if you go into Google Slides, you're going to go into Page Setup, and you're going to select Custom, and you're going to set it as the size of a piece of paper, so 8.5 by 11. Because by default, it comes up as a 4 by 3. If you change it to a 16 by 9, that's like the size of a screen, and it's always going to be landscape, and you want to turn it to portrait, or you can keep it in landscape depending on the type of assignment it is. But generally, most handouts we know are portrait size, and 8.5 by 11. So you're going to go to Page Setup in your Google Slides, click that, and you're going to say Custom Setup and Custom Size 8.5 by 11, and you will be able to. Then, if you didn't want to print it out, it would print out just like a regular piece of paper. Great question. Thank you so much for that. All right, one of my absolute favorite activities to do with Google Slides is to create stop motion animations. A lot of people don't think of Google Slides as that kind of a tool, but this is actually from an activity I did with 6th grade science, where we created we were talking about renewable and non-renewable energy. And so these are all original shapes, and I created it. Some of them are a little bit better than others. Some of these were built live with the students as I was demonstrating how to do it. But the power of Google Slides is the fact that you can go in and use all of the drawing tools with creating shapes, adding elements, adding in shapes or images if they want to safely search Google, dropping them into Google Slides and moving it just incrementally across the page, and each slide is going to show that movement. And then you can put it into presentation mode, and voila, you've created a stop motion animation. So it's just a really powerful way to engage your students, and using, again, Google Slides as a different kind of a tool, because a lot of them are like, oh, it's just for presentations, and this is just a different take on that. If you're not familiar with creating Google Slides animations, I do have a link, I'll have it in the description, that goes directly to a tutorial where it's excerpts from a lesson I did with 6th grade science students. So if you're interested, check that out. Has anyone done Google Slides? I know my friend Wanda that's tuning in has done Google Slides with stop animation. Anybody else used Google Slides for stop motion animation? Let me know in the chat. So another reason I love Google Slides for using it with students is a great way to monitor students working on a collaborative document, even if they're collaborating on one document, but they're working in their own individual space. Here's an example of 3 Truths and a Lie, which is a, excuse me. 3 Truths and a Lie is a spotlight on SOS, the spotlight on strategies from Discovery Education. And this is a template that I've created that each student gets their own slide. Wanda says, I knew you had done that before. She says, love the stop motion, but more importantly, the students love it, the 4 Cs. Exactly. It's fostering that creativity and collaboration, because they can work together on it in slides. So here's what I love about using Google Slides and giving each student one slide that they're responsible for. They put their name on it, they own it, and because you can use that version history, you can see who's doing what. But what's great is I can go down here to grid view, and I can change it from that presentation view, and I can go to grid view down here, and I can see who's working on what. If all of your students are logged into their Google accounts and in the Google domain, you can actually see who's doing what on each slide, which is great for monitoring students, whether it's remotely or even in a face-to-face setting where your students are working independently on their devices. You can monitor this from your computer. So I just love that option. I know a lot of teachers are like, well, I need to assign this, but I don't want to have to open up 30 copies of a document. What's great is you can actually share out one document, let them all claim a slide and add to it. Now, if you're concerned about students that might be peeking at each other's responses and you're like, no, that's not cool. I don't want you to look at somebody else's answer. I want to be your own individual answer. What you can do is have them work in their own space and set a timer and then say, all right, by this certain time, when that buzzer goes off, you're going to need to add your responses into our collaborative doc. So maybe they're not working in the collaborative doc, so we're not seeing each other's work. Then you set that timer, they paste it in, and then you can review that work together. So that is another tip for using Google Slides. If you'd never paid attention down there, there's that grid view option right there. I'd also like to point out down here, you might notice that it has a new toolbar, which is less obtrusive, which is great. Of course, it came out after most of the online learning and because it would always block when you were trying to share your screen, but they've made this a lot more less obtrusive in terms of having that tool bar there. Also, you can use closed captioning inside of Google Slides, which is a great way to share out captions during your presentations. So just a little tip there that you can turn that on. You can set it to be at the top, the bottom, and even the size of the text is customizable for your lessons. I did want to point out a really cool add-on that you can add in if you're looking for timers. So sometimes some people will add in a YouTube video, which that takes up a lot of real estate in your video. It's a great hack for being able to have a timer right there because it will automatically start. But the other cool thing is you can use the Slides timer extension to add in a timer, and you can customize it. It'll live a little bit smaller up in the corner or in the bottom, or wherever you want it to live, and that is a cool extension you might want to check out. So I shared 3 of my top 10 ideas for using Google Slides. If you want to know a little bit more and get some more ideas for using Google Slides, I do have a whole, this is from last summer's PD series, 10 ideas. I did it 10 ideas, 10 tools over 10 days. And so I shared 3. So if you want to know a couple more cool ideas of ways you can use Google Slides, you might want to check that out. So let's talk about Jamboard. How many of you are Jamboard users? Let me know in the chat. Jamboard became one of my absolute new favorite things to use during the pandemic. You gotta love that my bottle is green, so it's, I gotta love that it's, I noticed that earlier when I was doing a test run that I was like, oh yeah, I'm using a green screen so you can see me. You can't see the bottle. So Jamboard is an interactive whiteboard. If you're not familiar with it, it has a lot of functionality. They've added more features to it recently. But it's just a really cool tool that I think you might want to consider using with your students. So it's great for collaboration because you can share it out and everybody can engage in it, just like I see here Olivia says Jamboard is your favorite. Awesome. I just think it's a really, really cool tool, and it's very sleek and easy to use because there's not overwhelming, it's not too overwhelming in terms of the toolbars and stuff. I see that Jamboard has improved so much of the year. Yes, they've added some functionality. They added some extra features they didn't have before, including the ability to add text, including the ability to add shapes. But the main reason you might want to use it is just really that collaboration piece. So I see that Colleen says you've tried it a couple times this year, would love more ideas. All right, so I got a couple ideas for you. So it's great for collaboration because inside of your Google admin domain, you can share it out. You can see who's working on it, and students can participate together. Now, there is a max number of 50 participants, but you should be good to go for a class. You know, it gets on the struggle bus when you get above 40. The more people you add. I see that Sandra says sometimes 20 pages is too little for me. I hear you. So that was going to be my next caveat. Yes, Sandra, that you didn't use it too often. I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I'm all about try the tool and it might work for one particular activity and that's it. It's not something that necessarily has to be in your toolbox to use every single day. But what's cool is that you do only have 20 pages, so it really makes you focus down on what particular activity you want students to work on. So it's really good for pairs activities or small group activities so that you can push it out in Google Classroom. You can force a copy for students. You can assign a copy to each student as well. So it's great for that collaboration piece. What's also nice is the fact that it is both web-based and there is a mobile app. So doing an activity like this, label the cell structure, what's great about Jamboard is the fact that you can draw on there and you can actually annotate the parts of the cell. So yeah, it's great for that group work piece because of the drawing factor. So as much as I love Google Slides, there's no native drawing tool in there. Like you can draw shapes by adding them in there individually, but it does not let you annotate. This does let you annotate. So I've had science teachers that really love the ability for students to draw and label things. Okay, so a collaboration activity like this. The other thing that a lot of teachers were using it for was for sorting activities. Because you can add in images, this is an activity tied to that renewable, non-renewable activity. Students can go in and discuss and they can categorize and sort things. So you can add them in there. They live on that workspace. Now, the one thing about Jamboard is that only what is on the canvas is going to fit. If you use slides or drawings, you know that you can have things offside the canvas and make activities that way. But everything's going to live inside of the Jamboard. But a sorting activity is a great way to engage your student. Here's another one that's kind of cool for discussions. And I see Olivia says, yeah, you liked it for group work. How about doing a four corners activity? So this is the digital version of if you're in a room and you're like, all right, so if everyone that likes their favorite color is red, go to this corner. If everyone that likes their favorite color is blue, go to this corner. Kids are usually getting up and moving to one of those four corners. And unfortunately, when we had to go digital, we needed to come up with a different solution. So here is an option to do that. So you can actually use a Jamboard as a digital space for students to move. So they can use the Post-it note option so that they can move their Post-it note wherever they'd like to, whatever statement you're talking about. Let's see here, we got, I really like Jamboard for creating explainer videos on an iPad, film with the record screen widget. Brilliant idea, I love it. That's a great use of the mobile version of Jamboard because you can do that annotation. And again, yes, recording it with your iPhone natively. That's shout out, great job. Thank you for sharing that tip. So you could take this particular activity and have students drop their sticky notes, drop their name in text, or you could level up and actually have them add in their name using a website like Cool Text or Text Giraffe and add their names in there so they can drag it around and have their digital representation of themselves in an activity. So those are just 3 ideas, and I saw someone say they were looking for some more. I've got a few more ideas that you can check out linked in the video if you are interested to check those out. Next up is drawings. Who are my Google Drawings fans? Let me know in the chat if you're a Google Drawings fan. In the comments, what is your favorite way to use Google Drawings? I first created this collab pad because I had a teacher ask me about using Padlet, and then Padlet switched to a paid option, and they're like, but I like the ability to add just about everything in there, but it was on one canvas, I could see everything that they were working on. So I created this template for one using Google Drawings because it's the same thing. You can insert text, word art, hyperlinks, images, GIFs, all sorts of things right here. I see Olivia says you've never used drawings. Oh, my friend, you have to check it out. It is fantastic. It's hidden in the Drive. You got to go to click on Drive, click on New, under More. You're going to find it right under Google Forms. A lot of people don't see it there, but I love it. So you do it for covers. Awesome. Wanda says you love to use it for graphic organizers. Yeah, it's great for graphic organizers because it is one canvas for you to focus on. Yeah, kids love drawings. It's one of my favorite tools to use and introduce students because I teach them in drawings and then they translate those same design techniques into slides, which is great. So this template right here is a great opportunity for students to be able to add in comments, again, like a parking lot, but because you can add in those images and things like that, it's just a pretty cool template that I created. So that's one idea. Another thing that's great about drawings is you can use it for timelines. And the reason you can do that, Colleen says, are your templates available somewhere like this one or your 3 Truths and a Lie? Yes. If you look in the video description, there's a link down there that says templates and also one that says SOS. And you can also find all my stuff on techtips411.com. Thank you for asking. Yeah. So again, for those folks that maybe new, aren't familiar, I got a ton of resources on my website techtips411.com. You can check that out. You can actually search templates and it will find those for you. There's a search option at the top. All right, so timelines. And there's all sorts of cool timeline tools, but one of the reasons I like Google Drawings is the fact that you can set your canvas to be any size that you want. So, and you can zoom in and zoom out. So it's great for creating timelines because you can add in those images, you can add in that cool text, you can add in arrows and things like that, and have it all on one canvas for you to be able to demonstrate your learning. This is a great way for students to create timelines. So when you get back to school, it might be introduce yourself and maybe like do a timeline about significant events in your life. When you're in social studies and you're talking about significant events in history, or in science, it could be significant discoveries in science in a particular field. So fun way to use it. Another way to use it is obviously for annotation activities. So similar to what I showed you with Jamboard, you can do the same thing in drawings. You've just got a little bit more workspace to work with because the canvas is one canvas and you can make the canvas larger or smaller. Unfortunately, you can't adjust the size of the canvas or what they call a frame in Jamboard. So you can use all of the drawing tools up here. So I can insert just about any shape and I can add in word art and text to create the labels for this particular activity. So those are just a handful of the ideas I have on Google Drawings. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can check out a deep dive into my 10 ideas for using Google Drawings right there. So there was a question about the templates. So I have quite a few templates for the SOS using drawings, docs, slides, and now Jamboard. So please take a look down in the description. There should be a link that says templates or SOS, and you'll be able to grab those and use them. I'd love your feedback if you end up choosing to use them. So a couple other tips that you might or might not know is the fact that you can create a custom header, but did you know you could add in animated GIFs, which is kind of cool, which makes your headers stand out even more in Google Classroom. Now, a couple of things you need to know is that when you create your animated GIF, you're going to export it as the size that it would need to be for a Google header. And I'm going to, excuse me, also on my templates, I have a link to templates like this, but I added in an animation, so it just kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. Now, I have a lot of teachers that say, well, I created this really cool header. When I uploaded it to Google Classroom, it graded out. You couldn't see it as well. That is a accessibility feature in Google Classroom so that it is able to be read by screen readers. So it's not you. You didn't make an error. That's just part of the accessibility features in Google Classroom. So another thing that I would suggest in your Google Classroom is using cool text. In this case, some cool symbol type text that you can make your headers stand out, your topics stand out. You can also use emojis. Now, super excited that they added in bold and italicized and strike through text and a little bit more formatting options. They're now available in Google Classroom, but still, there's some things I like to be able to add to mine to make it stand out. So using cool symbol text to be able to add differentiated text at the top and adding emojis just to make it stand out a little bit more. So I use those emojis as topics, bullet points, instructions, and also it's great for comments. And you can search and use those. If you're on a PC, you can also hit the Windows and period key and it will pop up the option to insert emojis. But again, it just helps for differentiating things for students. I like to use emojis like if you see the clapper emoji, which is the film, looks like the film clapper, I use that for anytime there's a video that I've added to my Google Classroom. I use the writing paper and pencil to indicate it's a writing task. It's just another visual cue to support our diverse learners. So this is that you did before. Before you could do your own bold and italicized, you could use this cool fancy text generator. I still think this is a great option because you can still get cool text that are going to stand out, because you can use the formatting inside the instructions or description of your assignment, but not for the actual title of your topics, or title of your assignment. So you could still use this cool fancy text generator if it's something that you would find beneficial. I mentioned earlier about cool text. This is one of my favorite sites to create cool logos that you can use in slides and drawings. You can have your students create their own name and add it as the image that lives in a collaborative doc. So it gives them a little bit of autonomy, like, hey, representing themselves. It's a great getting to know you activity at the beginning of the school year, letting them create their logo that represents them. Cool text is one. Another site is Text Giraffe. It's just a great way to add jazzy text to your slides and your drawings and your Jamboards, because Jamboard doesn't have a lot of function, the ability to do too much fancy stuff, so you might want to check out Cool Text. Another thing you might want to consider doing is actually using Canva to create whiteboard options. They have templates already, and you might want to consider using it for templates for presentations. So you can build presentations in Canva. And if you're not familiar with Canva, shameless plug, on Thursday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to be going through Canva. So if you're interested, come back at 1 on Thursday to learn all about Canva, because there is a free upgrade for educators, and it gives you so many cool features that you can use Canva. But you can search for whiteboard options, and you can search for presentations, and you can download them and use them with your Google apps. So there we go. The goal is to explore explore tips for using Workspace EDU apps, learn about some sites and tools to use with Workspace, tools to use with apps, explore Chrome extensions and apps for some app smashing, some things you want to use, and gain ideas for using Workspace. So hopefully you got an idea or two. One says, you use Canva to make visuals for our Canvas PD courses. Yeah, there's so many cool options. You can use Canva. Also, they've got templates for creating Google Classroom headers, which is really, really, really cool. So those are our goals for our time today that and I appreciate so much. Drop any questions or comments you have in the chat. Did you find this beneficial? This is the first of an 8-part series that I'm going to be doing these sessions 2 a day on Tuesdays and Thursdays this week and next before I start my summer vacation. So hopefully you'll want to join me. If you haven't already done so, please check out resources at techtips411.com. I would appreciate that. And if you want, you can sign up for my weekly tech tips. They will resume in August of next year. The link is in the description of this video. In addition to that, you can like and Tech Tips 411 on Facebook. And you can also, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel so that you'll be notified of upcoming sessions. That would be awesome. And last but not least, please make sure you check out my Glide app, which is my Tech Tips 411 app that has all the goodness of my website in the palm of your hands. So, super, super excited you spent some time with me today. Thank you so much, Olivia. I appreciate it. Thank you, Fonz. You are too kind. I appreciate it. I have way too much fun sharing these PDs, and it's nice to have people participating and tuning in. And share with your friends. Share the link if you thought this was beneficial. Share it, like it, share it, send it to your friends. With sharing is caring. Thank you, Piley. I appreciate it. This is awesome, awesome, awesome. I appreciate everyone for your kind words and that you found this time beneficial. I'm actually going to be offline for a little bit, and then I'll be back at 3 o'clock with tools for level up tools for student engagement. So if you want to learn some more and you're available, come back at 3 p.m. today. So got about an hour and 15 minutes, and you can come right back, and I'll be here sharing some of my favorite tips for you all. So if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you are notified and we can stay connected. I appreciate you so very much. Check out Tech Tips 411, subscribe to the channel, and connect with me. That would be awesome. So thank you so much. And I will see you all on the next one.